Number one, 10 characteristics of a woman who has high feminine energy is number one, she's intuitive. Meaning that she taps into her gut, her inner voice. She assesses, what is around her, and she's able to move accordingly. Number two, the woman is empathetic. She shows empathy. It's easy for her to put herself in the shoes of the other. The Prophet ﷺ said the best of the women, رَكِّبْنَ الْإِبِلِ, are women who ride camels, meaning the women from Mecca, and the women that are merciful and compassionate with their children. These are the best of women, women who are compassionate, which is quality number three. Intuitive, empathetic, compassionate. Number four, nurturing. You give a woman anything, she's tapped into her feminine energy, she's going to nurture it until it becomes the best that it can become. Whether that is a home, whether that is a child, whether that is a man, whether that is a business. You bring anything to a woman who's tapped into her feminine energy, she's going to nurture it until it becomes the best thing that it can become. You need to look no further. I'll give you two examples from the Quran. Now I want you to give me two examples from the Quran. Give me two examples of the Quran of a woman who was nurturing, took something, nurtured it until it became perfect. Maryam and Prophet Jesus, absolutely. Who else? The Asiya and Prophet Musa. I'll give you another one. Zuleika and Prophet Yusuf. When the Aziz brought Yusuf home, what did he say to Zuleika? Akrimi mathwai. Honor him, honor his stay. And although she, fell in, Shaitan got the best of her later on, but during Yusuf's years of being raised in her home, she nurtured him until he became the Yusuf that we all fell in love with. That was Zuleika. Aziz wasn't there. Zuleika did that. And unfortunately, she fell into the trap that many women fall into. I nurtured you and I raised you, so I should be able to abuse you. Yeah, facts, all day long. I nurtured you, I raised you, so I should have the authority to abuse you. So a woman will help a man become more business oriented, help him with his business, and raise his business up until he becomes successful, and now that gives her the right to abuse him. How does she abuse him? Constantly reminding him of what she did for him. I was with you when you had nothing. I helped you with this business. So you're gonna abuse him now? Because you built it, so you can destroy it? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Zuleika fell into that. She raised Yusuf, built him, and then she tried to destroy him. She tried to abuse him by trying to seduce him, unfortunately. We have to be mindful of that. Don't raise something to only turn around and abuse it. Sometimes we do it to our children. Some women do it to their children. You have emotional incest. You believe that your child is now your man. Your child is not your man. Your son is not your husband. It's not your surrogate husband. Meaning your male child is not there to do the things that a man is supposed to do for you. Your child is not there for you to continue imparting information on your child that is beyond his emotional capacity to handle. Well, your father's not this, and you're being your father this, and the child doesn't understand that. The child is not emotionally mature to be able to understand what happened between you and his father. But yet you still keep introducing that conversation to your child in an attempt to persuade him to take a position against his own father. How many boys out here right now hate their own father and don't even know why? Because they only heard one narrative. They only heard one part of the story. Your part. It's facts. What was the point that I was making? Huh? A nurturing woman. Okay. Sorry. I got a little thrown off. Sorry. I'm back. Okay. All right. So, intuitive, empathetic, nurturing, compassionate. Number 5, Receptive. A woman that is feminine is receptive. What do I mean by receptive? Meaning that she can learn from the world around her. She absorbs, she learns from the world that is around her. She can learn from her man. She can learn from her husband. When a woman takes on the attitude, he can't teach me nothing, I can't learn nothing, you can learn from something from somebody who's actually an idiot. You can learn what not to do, even from somebody who's an idiot. But when you take up this position against your man that he can't teach you nothing or you can't learn nothing from him, and a lot of sisters in the Muslim community do this when they're married to a man who has a little bit of knowledge of the religion, but you're constantly looking for the loophole, which is the mistakes that he make in his life to discredit what he has of knowledge. So you'll look at him and see, oh, well, he don't make his sunnah prayers, or he not doing this, he don't doing that. And then the moment he tries to tell you something about Islam, man, I don't want to hear that. You know, you didn't do this or you did that. Abu Darda, he has a famous statement. He said, إِنَّا لَنَأْمُرُكُمْ بِأَشْيَاءٍ وَلَمْ نَفْعَلُوا. That we may order you, scholars, we may instruct you to do certain things that we don't necessarily do. And although we don't do those things, we do other things. So no, you might not see me do this or you might not see me do that, but there are other things that I do that you don't see me doing. As Allah says, وَلَهُمْ أَعْمَالٌ هُمْ كَذَلِكَ فَاعِلُونَ. That they have deeds other than this that they do that you don't see. But we're constantly looking for the loophole, Bani Israel behavior, looking for the loophole so that we can discredit you so I don't have to listen to what you say. Oh, I got to come in before Maghrib, but yet you can hang out with the brothers and be out all hours of the night. Okay. Does that still take away from the fact that you should listen to your husband and be in from before Maghrib? Sisters, if your husband tells you that I would like you to be home before Salatul Maghrib, that's his way of saying to you, I love you. That's not trying to control you. That's trying to protect you, especially in an environment like this. Why would you want to be out? I'm a man and I don't even want to be out after Maghrib. But here again, we have the attitude trying to control me. You're unreceptive. So number 5 is to be receptive. Number 6, that a feminine woman, a woman who is tapped into her feminine energy, is creative. She's creative, meaning that she's able to express herself in different ways, whether through painting, through dance, through whatever. She's able to be creative. That is a woman who's tapped into her feminine energy. Number 7 is that a woman who is feminine or tapped into her feminine energy is not afraid to be vulnerable. She's not afraid to be vulnerable. We live in a time where women act like men, where they can't express their vulnerability out of fear that the person is not going to be receptive or the person is, going to take advantage, and they use all of these excuses not to be vulnerable. If a man is with a woman who refuses to be vulnerable in front of him, he might as well be married to another man. It's our nature to reserve our vulnerability because the fear that might infringe on my masculinity. But men, we will eventually, as we get older, we come to learn that being vulnerable is actually a strength. The Prophet ﷺ was vulnerable on many occasions, cried in front of the Sahaba, cried in front of the entire community, let his guard down completely in front of his companions. When he went to go visit the grave of his mother, he said, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for permission for 2 things. He told me yes to one, he told me no to the other. To even say that in public, God told me no. It's a vulnerability. He said, I asked Allah for permission to go visit the grave of my mother. He gave me permission. So he goes to the grave of his mother and he starts crying, weeping. The Sahaba didn't even know why he was crying. They started crying. After he was finished, the Sahaba said, the Prophet asked them, why are you guys crying? They said, well, we saw you crying, so we just figured maybe revelation came to you, maybe something is about to happen, so we started crying. He said, no, I asked Allah permission to visit the grave of my mother. This is the grave of my mother. He said, the second thing, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive my mother. And he told me no. And subhanAllah. Basically, meaning your mother's going to hell. And he's the prophet. And he had to expose that to his companions. I'll take it a step further. A man came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, Aina Abi, where's my father going to be? My father died, where's he going? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Abuka finnar, your father's in the hellfire. Your father's going to hell. SubhanAllah. The man walked away, feeling some type of way. This is how empathetic the Prophet was in his own masculine energy. Watch the vulnerability. The Prophet ﷺ told the man, Ta'al, come here. I don't like the way this ended. Come here. He said, let me do this again. Abi wa abuka finnar. My father and your father are in hell. How about that? You straight now? That's vulnerability. As a man, my father and your father are in hell. Because I didn't want you to walk away thinking that I have some type of special privilege. My father going to hell too. This is the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So for men, part of strength, part of being strong is the ability to be vulnerable, to let your guard down. Number 8 is that a woman who is tapped into her feminine energy is a woman who has meaningful relationships. Her connections are meaningful. She doesn't just have sisters that she just hang out with for the sake of hanging out. All of her connections and relationships are meaningful. She doesn't have people that she just hangs out with for the sake of hanging out. Number 9, she is graceful in the way that she carries herself, meaning her inner peace radiates on the outside, her external peace. And number 10, a woman who is tapped into her feminine energy is a woman who has boundaries. She knows that she's worthy of love. She knows that she has a sense of worth. And she makes sure that she sets boundaries in her relationship so that people don't trample over her. Being a woman who is feminine doesn't mean that you just let people walk over top of you. Part of a woman being tapped into her feminine energy is to know that she has value. And of course, the only way to protect your value is to do what? To put boundaries up. I value my time. So if you pick up the phone and you call me, don't take me halfway around the world. Get to it. Don't waste my time. My time is valuable. You understand? Don't say, well, I was talking to so-and-so the other day and, and she had on this jacket. And listen, man, don't take me halfway around the world. Get to the point. What's the point? Well, you don't have to be rude. I'm not being rude. You are trampling on my boundaries. One of my boundaries is I value my time. And I need you to value my time. So I need you to get to what you need to get to, or we can just hang the phone up because I don't have idle conversations where we just sit around and talk about people. I don't have those type of conversations. I'm not 12, 13 years old where I just sit around and gossip. My conversations are meaningful, purposeful. These are just 10 qualities of a woman who has what they call high feminine energy. And if you take a look at those 10 and you start to look at yourself and you realize I'm missing some of these, or I've forgotten about some of these, or I've neglected some of these, then it might be a time to kind of take it down a notch and begin to start doing what is called self-care. And to reevaluate yourself, to reevaluate your femininity. Reevaluate your femininity and find out where did you lose it or where did it start to be, chipped away at, so that you can remove yourself from that space so you can begin rebuilding yourself, right? Because here again, when a woman is feminine, that's her superpower. She can get anything she wants. And I'll leave you with the reiteration of the story that I mentioned from about Sulaym.